That's great. Is Thy Faithfulness, taking you back many years to the group called Virtue, the group that had in it three sisters, and one of them joins us now, our guest on TPI Midweek Praise Party. It's KARIMA Trotter. Welcome, KARIMA.
Hi.
How are you?
I am wonderful. You may hear a little squeaky. I have a new puppy, and so he is squirming. So if you hear anything, that's what it is.
That's all right. Now, the hairstyle on your head makes you look like you're in Florida. We're seeing like you got the beach running behind your house, and it's not winter at all.
It's about 20 degrees right now here in Nashville. So I thought I'd bring a little sunshine and wear something that resembles sunshine. It's so cold here.
Well, it's thank goodness for your 20 degrees in Nashville, because it's much colder here in London. But listen, Thank you so much for joining us, and you are one part of the supergroup Virtue. Now, we haven't heard anything from Virtue for a while because you guys took a break, but you and your sisters were part of the group, but growing up, your mother would make you sing wherever you went. Tell us a bit about life as a supergroup member.
For as far as I can remember, I've been probably maybe 3 or 4. My mom had us in choirs. We had to sing. That was our extra
curricular
leisure. That what we did when we were younger, because my mom wanted to keep us out of trouble. We grew up in New Orleans, and I mean, we weren't bad kids at all. But at the same time, having all girls and being a single mom, she did everything she could to keep us grounded and our faith in God, like, number one. So yeah, for as long as I can remember, I have been singing in choirs with my sisters in groups. And at about the age of 8, I overheard my older sister tell my mother that I could sing. And I mean, you could sing, but when somebody else affirms it, it's just like, whoa. Mm-hmm. And at 8 years old, I was like, wow, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Then if my sister thinks I can sing, then this is what I want to do. And so as kids, go ahead.
Let me ask, how true is it that your sisters actually never wanted to sing, but they sang in Virtue just because of you? Is that true?
I said this in another interview, that my sisters really helped me live my dream, because they did not want to pursue music, especially Heather. Heather was the younger of the three of the latter of the three. My mom had 6 of us, so Heather was the latest, the youngest kid, and so she watched the industry change, and we had done it for a little while, and she was determined that she was not going to take that path. And she said God spoke to her clearly and said, listen, this is what I need you to do. And so they did. Yeah, she'll tell you, Ebony has had a dream to be a teacher since she was in the 3rd grade. She wanted to be a teacher. She loved her 3rd grade teacher. And Ebony still is teaching. Heather is a mom of 4. And actually, we still sing together. We did a New Year's Eve concert in Birmingham, Alabama. So we still sing, but they definitely will tell you that this was something that God led them to do. And I truly believe that God wanted me to live my dream, and they be on either side of me, and we share the gospel of Jesus Christ together until it was time for me to step forward. So now, I truly believe that.
You talk about stepping forward, and that's one of the main reasons we're speaking, really, because of your song Redeemer. But it's many people looking from the outside would have seen you and said, great gospel superstar, and very successful, etc. But you went through some challenges, personal challenges, which you've not been ashamed to share, divorce and all the rest of it. Tell us a bit about life after Virtue, and some of the challenges you came up against in your life, and how God brought you through those.
Oh my goodness. Yes, life has a funny way of growing you up, changing you, making you have more faith and all of those things. And I always say no one gets married with the intentions of getting a divorce. That I had no clue that that would happen, but life happens. And so it'll be about 12 years in about a few weeks that I've been divorced. And so being divorced and having a daughter and trying to figure life out, because I got a record deal when I was 18 years old, and so I didn't have a background in any other field to do anything else, and so I felt stuck. And God's just like, Karima, you're never stuck. I've always had a plan. And so from that point on, the verse Jeremiah 29:11 just stayed with me. I know the plans I have for you. And it would get so rough to the point where I would just cry. I would cry myself to sleep. I didn't know how I was gonna like continue to take care of myself. Carly's father was present and still is, but still, as a mother, you want more for your children. And so I'm like, God, I need you to show me the way. And so he led me to do a solo project years ago, about 11, almost 12 years ago now. And that project, it was it was a gateway for me to land where I am right now. It was confirmation that I could do this on my own, because I was afraid, because I had never done it by myself as far as singing or even writing a song. Like, I had no clue, but God really wanted me to trust him. And so I stepped out on faith, and 11 years, almost 12 years ago, I was able to write
Mhm.
18 songs for that first project called Just Karima. And so from that point, it stopped, because Virtue, actually, we got back together. We did a project maybe 6 years ago. And so when it stopped again, I was like, oh my God. So I went and I got a job being a design consultant and a designer, designing people's homes with furniture, which was okay, but I got kind of stagnant, and it was a beautiful place to work. I met amazing people, but
Mhm.
I felt empty. I felt empty.
Now let me ask you about that empty feeling, because one of the things I'd heard you talk about is um, the the putting in my own words, um, get up and do something, move forward, walk through the door,
Mhm,
walk through a gate, or just take
mhm,
action. Uh, for someone who's listening, who's watching this, whether now or later, uh, they've been beat up pretty good by life,
mhm,
and they're watching this, and they see your beautiful hair, uh, glowing yellow dress, and think, well, it's all right for you to say, but how do I get myself from the pain I'm feeling right now? And I'm fatigued. I'm even my faith has been beat up. I'm not sure whether God is real. How do I move forward? How do I take action? How do I walk through the gate? How do I start writing a song again? I don't. All I know is my tears. What do you
yeah.
have that you could say to them?
You know, it is easy to sit and watch, people, like, I mean, people always put, gospel artists or anyone on a platform that is visible, put them on a pedestal, and they don't think that real life occurs. You know, it it is you're looking at a testimony, seriously. Like, yes, the makeup, the hair, all of that. I still went through it, and the only way I got through it was I had to reconnect my faith. I'd lost faith. I did. I lost faith. I lost hope. I even stopped praying, and that's just honest, because I felt like my prayers weren't being answered to a certain point, and I was like, God, I don't know what else to do. I mean, yes, you have family, Karima, you have friends that will help you, but I wanted to do it on my own, and so it's a struggle to let people, think that something is wrong, but you also have to be open to receiving help. You know what I mean? And so if you're not open to receiving help and no one knows your struggle, you're going to suffer alone. And so I had to be vocal about what I was going through with people I trusted, like my family, but I also had to reconnect my relationship with God, because he is my friend. He is my savior. He is everything I ever needed. And so when I looked at that, and I used to hear it said, my mom used to say it all the time, if I could only tell you, the things that God has done. And now I understand those things because I've been where she's been. I
Mhm.
see and I feel, and my relationship with God is so much stronger now. And that sounds, like it's light, but it's really not light. I take God and everything he says, like, his promises are like yay and amen. Like everything
Okay.
he's ever said to me, I had to believe it.
So let's talk about the promises of God, and let's talk about God
Mm-hmm.
answering prayers. I'm wanting to ask you this to hear your story, especially for someone who's praying at the moment, whether they're praying for themselves or praying for somebody else, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not sure whether uh, it's been answered, and it's taking so long, it's playing on their minds, and they're hearing preachers preaching about your prayers hitting the ceiling and coming back to you, and they're wondering, is that me? So here you are, you release a project, you release a song, you take a step. It's not with a label. You have a desire to be on a label. You have experience of being on a label, so you know what the successes of that is. But here you
Yes.
are DIYing it. You put the song out, take the step, and you begin to pray. You see Juan and Lisa's project, It Belongs to Me, which we play here on the station,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and you are so taken by it, you're making notes, and then you start praying. God, whoever is behind this, I want them to get in touch with me, which seems like a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, come on, and then Mookie happens. Tell us what all that is about, because someone's just wondering, Mookie, what's Mu you were talking about, Mookie? Tell us your story.
Let me tell you, working at that design place where I was working, I won't say the name, but I knew like the emptiness made me want to like fall, like face, like I'll just fall flat on my face and just ask God, like, seriously, what do you have for me? And that's literally what I did. And like
Mm,
you said, listening to Juan and Lisa, God had a plan. He had that plan at Jeremiah 29:11. He knew all along this is where he wanted me. And so putting music out on my own, nothing happened. And so I prayed. I
So
literally
sorry,
prayed this prayer.
just a quick step back. So you're in a place where some could be call it a depressive state. You're asking
Uh-huh.
questions, what on earth is going on? But then you're asking God questions, and then you're using worship music from Juan and Lisa to medicate yourself, and that God begins to
I
so
like that.
so in the middle of a pain, you're going to worship music to medicate.
Mhm. I had to, because I didn't want to lose faith again, because I had come so far. And I knew if there was, first of all, there was no way that I had come this far, and telling God, I'm not going back to work there in January. So you're going to have to work something out for me. I'm not going back. This was July 2020. And so I prayed until October. I lost faith a little bit and I stopped because nothing was happening. And then in October, I prayed, God, please, whoever is behind Lisa and Juan's ministry, what they're doing, their everything, that label, Lord, I need that label to reach out to me. And I said it in those words, and I really meant it. I said it as honest and like I'm talking to you. This is how I talk to God, like, because he's my friend. I'm like, you promised. And I kid you not, maybe 10 minutes later, I checked my DMs, and Mookie, the CEO of this label, is in my DMs asking me, hey, girl, what's going on? I'm like, what in the world? And then, he tells me, he said, I'm the CEO of Dear Records, Lisa and Juan. I was like, you have got to be okay. And
Now, now,
I know him. I've
Kareem,
known
I
him
was
because
I was
we
gonna
worked at
say,
Virtue.
Karima, just explain to someone listening. So here you are,
Mm-hmm,
months of praying that prayer,
mm-hmm,
and it seemed like nothing is happening, and you pray the prayer again, and within 10 minutes you get a text from someone you don't realize it's who you someone you know very well, because
Right.
you see Michael Anthony Taylor.
Right.
So, and then you discover he's the record company boss, and discover he's an old friend.
Yes, it was so mind blowing that I almost dropped my phone, because I'm like, well, God, I literally just prayed that prayer. So he had been working on this for a while. God already knew the appointed time and the appointed day that Mookie was going to reach out to me. And so what's even more deep to me is that Mookie never saw any music on my page. Mookie never saw or heard anything on my page of which I posted, of the clips of, of just trying to get the music that I had written out. And so when I asked him, I said, "So you must have heard the music." He said, "No, I never saw the music. I never saw your picture, never heard the music." He said, I said, "Well, why did you reach out?" He said, "I was drawn and I was led to your page." He said, "Man, there's a light on your page. There is something special. And I just needed to know what you were doing. Are you still singing? What are you doing? Are you and your sister sing? Like, what do you want to do with your career?" I was like, "What?" So
Wow.
like that. That's how it happened.
So
And by
so so
December,
here
I had a deal.
so here you are. You are putting stuff on social media.
Mm-hmm.
You're stepping forward, desiring God, crying out to Him, and you're doing what you're doing, uh, uh, and God answers you, and the answer He sends you hadn't even seen all the stuff on Instagram that you were doing. He was
Yeah.
just drawn by the Spirit of God.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what did that do for your faith? And it'd be great to hear that, especially for someone who's put in a lot of effort in, and they feel like uh, it's their effort that would bring it
Mm-hmm.
to pass. Encourage them with your story and what it did for your faith, so they know that God sees and He hears, and He will come through, not just because of your efforts, but because of His grace and mercy.
Mm-hmm. And I think your obedience in walking through what you're afraid of the most is what is
Mm,
most crucial in building faith and increasing faith. And I was scared. I'm always like freaked out, and I just am, because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. What's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to play out. But I have to do. Sometimes you have to do it scared. That's what I've done all my life. I've done it scared, because I just know that there is always a way. There's always going to be a way made, because that's what God's promised me. And so what may look like something to someone else, or even to yourself, it's so much different than what God wants for us. Is so much more, in other words, than we could ever want for ourselves. So if I'm given a plan, all I need to do is follow it. And that sometimes is the hardest thing to do. But if you do it, if you believe, because that's all God really asks of us, is to believe. If we believe, the rest is taken care of without a shadow of a doubt. What it did for my faith, oh my, like, I have goosebumps every time I tell this story, because it's not so much of the disbelief, because God is a God of, he cannot lie. He's going to keep his word. But the fact that He did it for me, the fact that
mm,
He did it for me. And so it brings tears to my eyes, because I didn't think that I was good enough. I didn't think that I was worthy. I didn't think that people would want to just hear me by myself. I was afraid. I was truly afraid. And God said, "Trust me now or never." And
mm,
so at this age in my life, I said, "Well, I don't have anything to lose. So, God, I'm just going to trust you fully." And I don't want people to think that they have to get to a certain age. You trust Him right now. You trust Him when you can't see Him. You trust Him when you can't feel Him. You trust Him even though it doesn't matter what it looks like, because
wow.
His plan for you is so great. It's so great. And so when I think about where he's brought me from, and to the point of having a number one 2 weeks in a row. I would have never fathomed that. Did I ask for those things? Yes. Did I believe? I did. I believed. And it took me a minute to get to the point of just total surrender, total belief in God and what He is to me and what He can do for my life. So if He did it for me, He can do it for anybody. You just have to believe. I mean, when you're at your weakest, is when He is His strongest. Like He wants to just embrace you with so much love and so much of everything. And so my faith is so much stronger, and it's stronger by the day. I think about the things that I have asked over the years, and sometimes we forget the things and the blessings that we have already been given because we're on to the next thing. We're waiting for the next to happen, but we need to soak up every single thing that God has done for us, and we'll see that He has always been there. And so down
Mm.
to doing this song Redeemer, oh my God, I listened to it maybe 2.5, 3 weeks prior to us picking this song to do, because I was thinking I was going to re-record the one that I put out on social media. And so Mookie and his professional, his business brain, he's like, no, Karima, you need a song that is familiar to everyone. And so that song I had listened to in my car like for weeks. I was just singing because I love Nicole C. Mullins' version. I do. I listen to it all the time because it is such a great reminder of this big God that we serve and the way that we worry, and we don't have to, because He has always been there. He wants to save us, right? And so my sister called out of the blue. I had just turned it. Well, when you call in the car, the music goes off, the phone rings, and so I
Mhm.
was humming it, and she said, "Karima, that's a song you need to do." So it was confirmation because I had thought
Wow.
it. And so when I brought it back to Mook, he was like, "That's it. That's it. That is what we're going to do." And here we
Wow.
are.
And so
Here
you
we
had
are.
the opportunity to work with Aaron Lindsay
Oh my God.
I mean, it would be great to hear what that experience is like. But I'm gonna say thank you so much for joining us. I wonder if
Absolutely.
you could one final word for someone who's just stumbled on this broadcast, whether now or later.
Mhm.
One final word to encourage them that the where they are, God is still with them,
Mm.
and the same God that did for you is alive and well in their situation. He will do for them. Just an encouragement from you.
I, as simple as I can put it, trust God even though you have no clue what's going on. Trust Him when you can't trace him. Trust Him even though it looks like it's just never going to happen. God is never far away from you. He lives. He wants to bless you. He wants to prosper you. He wants to do everything your heart desires him for him to do. Only thing I tell you to do is believe in yourself, and definitely believe in God. He got you.
Karima, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to end our conversation with the song "Redeemer," your version. But
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, when the doors open again, the gates open, and we're back in Virginia Beach, it will be such a joy to get you into Virginia Beach and have you do the song live for us in the
I would
studio.
love that.
And I'm also glad I got the